Libra, our March energies are here. Let's have an aligned astro chat about it. Hello all, Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive, and welcome to your Transformational Tarot for the month of March for the sign of Libra. Libra, this is Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and for anyone who has a Libra in their life that they love. All right, so this month I got called to pull an overarching theme for the Sacred Creators Oracle from Chris Ann. And the deck that I chose for you Libras today is the Pocket of Peers from Jamie Sawyer. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so as I am shuffling up and picking a theme for us for this month, us as in I am a Libra rising as well. So this is a reading that is for me as well as it is for you. I want to say that I'm so grateful that, YouTube has finally deemed me worthy to be able to offer memberships. So feel free to click that join button and check out how you can become a fabulous Phoenix with me to keep the conversation going, to go a little bit deeper. Okay, for March, your soul shines. So March is going to be a very interesting month. Collectively, there's going to be a lot of up and down, and I feel like this is going to be a month where you are going to have a lot of time to shine. This is going to be intentional shining. This is going to be people coming out of the woodworks, needing your special expertise, your special zone of genius. People from the past reaching out to you. I didn't know who else to reach out to. I didn't know who else to call. You were the first person that popped into my head. Trust and know that March is going to be a very intuitive, very psychic month. And it's a month where, sorry, I just need to turn some lights on here. And it's a month where I feel like you're being called, you're being invited to join, to participate in some really interesting ways in your life and in the life of the people that you do this crazy wild ride called life with. Of course, we always have choice. We always have free will. If there's somebody that, comes through and wants something from you and you're not comfortable giving it, of course, you can say no. Feel absolutely free to do so. But this is definitely a month where there are going to be a plethora of opportunities, not just one or two, a plethora of opportunities. And in fact, I feel like it's kind of like every day you're going to have an opportunity to shine your light, to help someone out. And it's by invitation. Sometimes that invitation is going to be external, coming, from the people that you deal with every day. Sometimes it's going to be an internal invitation from your guides, from your angels, from source energy, from your high self. Be open and listen. Just listen to what is being shared. Listen to what is being offered. It's less about you, I want to say, talking and providing information through your communication, although that can be a part of it. It's really more going to be about listening. And through that listening, you're going to understand what that person needs from you. Wow, very cool. Okay, so where are you at presently with your transformational journey? What part of you is shifting, rising, or dissolving? Ooh, we've got the Eight of Pentacles. So you're very much in a mastering your craft, in a detail-oriented position. And what I keep feeling here is a lot of you are wanting this, craving this. You're wanting to perfect your craft. You're wanting to go to the next level. This is a card of higher learning, higher education. And I feel like as this is coming through, not only is it about what you're doing to learn, to expand, to grow, but this is also about how you want to kind of shine your light in the world. We talk about your soul shines. Well, you get to dictate how it shines in the world, because you dictate how you show up. And I feel like this Eight of Pentacles is really saying right now, that's what you're craving. You're craving an opportunity to broaden your horizons, to go a little bit bigger, to perfect your craft. I always like to say bejewel, bedazzle. The Three of Pentacles is often about the basics, learning the basics of the okay, I'm learning how to draw. Maybe I'm drawing with, a pencil and paper, and I don't add color. Well, once you've drawn this pentacle 4 or 5 times, you feel like you've got a good handle on it. Now you can start to add color. And then, you might work with 1 or 2 colors. Well, now you're going to work with multiple colors because you're starting to perfect your craft. You're starting to understand how things work. And that's where this Eight of Pentacles is. Libras, you're craving an up level. You're craving an opportunity to stretch yourself, to spread your wings. And I feel that it's going to happen in March. Let's see what we got. So the catalyst, what's fueling or hindering your transformation? Is this resistance or rocket fuel? Interesting. Yeah, this makes total sense. You're bored. You're ready for something new. You've been in this, holding pattern for quite some time. You've been busy with other things, make work projects, busy tying up loose ends, wrapping things up that I want to say, you're kind of bored with, you're done with it, you're tired of it, or you're just really ready to move on. And that Hanged One energy is basically saying, yeah, this is what I'm trying to get out of. I've been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt, and I'm ready for a little more action. I'm ready for the next step, the next wave, the next adventure. And I feel like when we ask, is this resistance or rocket fuel? I feel like it's rocket fuel, because you are in a position now where you can say, yeah, I have surrendered into this. I've done all the things that I'm supposed to do. Now, general reading, so take what works for you, leave the rest behind. For those of you who maybe have been resisting this surrender, and you're wondering why you're feeling stuck, or you're wondering why things aren't moving forward, when we resist the surrender takes longer to take effect, right? It takes longer to move through the Hanged One. And this is the Phoenix growing phase. So this is I'm not supposed to do anything. I'm not who I was. I'm not sure who I'm becoming. I'm kind of in that messy middle, and I'm supposed to just receive. This is the time to, pull that book off my shelf that I've been threatening to read for 3 years. Well, this is the time to do it, because I've got the time now. I can no longer move forward on this issue or this situation until an external factor comes in with new information or with the next step. So in essence, the universe is saying, pause and breathe, just take a breath. But I feel like this is the catalyst, because either you've been doing this and you're ready to move on, or your guides are saying, just surrender already. Because if you surrender to not knowing and not having something, specifically to do, or, a clarity around the path that you are on, surrender to that, because the clarity will come a lot faster. It's not going to come until you surrender. So I feel like that is definitely, this is rocket fuel. It's meant to show up at this month, at this time, to encourage you to get with the program. Surrender. Deep root. What deep belief, wound, or soul contract is driving this transformation under the surface? Interesting. Wow. Okay. So feeling like you're not doing enough, feeling like you don't have enough to offer, feeling like I just feel a lot of boredom coming through here. We've got this person who is obviously a creator. We've got a lot of paints. She's an artist. She's, drawing this mural on the wall. She's holding the pentacles in her hands. I don't know if she's an amputee or if she is, just kind of leaning up against the wall, and she's got 1 foot on the ground and 1 foot leaning up against the wall. But she's definitely in this situation here where she's done the creation, she's done all the things and the stuff, but she wants to do something more. She wants to broaden her horizons, but she doesn't have the right colors. She doesn't even have a palette that she can use to mix the colors. So there's almost this energy here when we talk about deep root. Again, I keep hearing the word boredom, and I feel like it's connected to a deep belief that you have a limited amount of creativity, or you have a limited amount of times where you can step into creative flow. This is a subconscious thing, not necessarily a conscious thing. But if you've ever been in a Hanged One phase, where you're a highly creative person, a hanged one phase can actually mean that you don't feel very creative, that you might feel a bit stifled or quieted. Often the universe and our angels and guides kind of shut us down a little bit because they don't want us to burn ourselves out. And I feel like when we're talking about this Four of Pentacles here, this is the deep belief that, maybe your time has come and gone. Maybe there isn't anything else for you to move on to and move forward to. It's that lack and that scarcity mentality. But I don't feel that it's true. So this is what's driving you under the surface, but this is neither true nor false. This is maybe like take a look at this, because this is where the wound is. This is what is stopping you. This is what is hindering you from moving forward on your path. What is dying away? What role, pattern, or identity has run its course? So I feel Libras, like you've been getting really tired of kind of always being in your head. The rationality, the logicality, perfectionism. And I feel like with this Ace of Swords really represents the truth. It represents clarity. It represents the potential, the inspired thought, a new potential thing that you could be moving towards. When we talk about what's dying away, again, we talk about that boredom. I really feel, Libra, like you are looking for something that maybe hasn't been done before, or definitely something that you've never done before. Maybe just to break up the monotony. Maybe it's just doing something that you haven't done before to kind of shake the cobwebs out, and then you're good to kind of, move forward with, kind of the way that you've been doing life. But this could also be that you are really answering the call, answering the invitation, and ready to step into something completely new and different. I feel for some of you, I want to say maybe half of you in this reading, you really are craving a new direction. And maybe it's even connected to your identity, trying to reinvent yourself a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. If you do it, commit to it. If that's the direction you're going, commit to it. If you're looking at all the possibilities and you don't know which way to go, so then you're not committing to any of them, I feel like that keeps you stuck in, the hanged one. Whereas with this Ace of Swords, the truth comes out. The truth is, I'm not happy doing what it is that I've been doing for the last 3 years or 30 years. The truth is, I am ready to act on an inspiration, no matter how, crazy it is. I'm ready to explore that. Give yourself permission to follow what it is that you are being invited to. When we talk about this in terms of what's dying away, I feel like what's dying away is the fear that who you are wanting to explore becoming may not be what is needed in this moment, may not be who your people need you to be. And I'm going to say it's happening right now because it absolutely is what the world needs. It is a collective experience. If we are not connecting with our community at large, if we are not thinking about, the humanity community as a whole, we're missing the boat. And so sometimes that means a complete reinvention of yourself. Sometimes that means doing not a 180, but a 90. Maybe that does mean doing a 180. Although I don't see you going backwards. I see you definitely heading forward. So that's why I'm going to say, 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle, whatever it happens to be, at least give yourself permission to explore it. I feel like that's really important. Highest Phoenix potential. What can rise from the ashes? What is your soul calling you toward? This is your breakthrough energy. So, with the card, things aren't always, with the moon card, the things aren't always what they seem. Energy is really coming through here. And if we go based on what we just talked about with the Ace of Swords, new thought, new inspiration, moving forward, you kind of want to have to give the moon a try. Like, it's easy to see what you're getting into in the sunlight. It's a little bit trickier when you're thinking of getting into something and you're jumping into it at night, because the moonlight casts a different light. Things don't look as bright and sunny and clear and crystal, right? But the moon also really gives you the opportunity to go within, to listen to your intuition, to really make the most of your emotions, not from the perspective of my emotions rule me, but more from the perspective of I can use my emotions to navigate the waters that I'm in. My emotions are informing my intuitive and psychic hits. I feel like when we're talking about this highest Phoenix potential, the answers that you're seeking are in the moon. The answers that you're seeking are in the dark. It's in the mystery. It's in the road not traveled, or the road that is only ever the trip that has only ever been taken at night, where maybe you've slept in the car on the way, so you have no idea how to get there. Well, now you're in the driver's seat. Now it's about you taking the trip. It's also 18 is a 9, endings, resolutions, conclusions. I feel like you've really got to close the door on some of this past stuff in order to give yourself permission to reinvent yourself. And you're nervous. You're afraid that, like I said, who you want to be, that heart-led energy is not going to be enough for everybody else. But I want to say, do it anyway. Do it anyway. The moon is encouraging you to face your fears and do it anyway. Interesting. What's emerging just around the corner? What energy or experience is coming in to support the next phase? Of course, we would get the Judgment. Wow. So we've got quite a few majors going on here, major arcanas. We've got the Hanged One, the Moon, and the Awakening. So this is the Judgment card. This is answering the call. So we've talked about that a lot. This is about you shining your light. This is about you bedazzling, kind of perfecting your craft, learning something new because you're bored. You're ready for something new to open you up. You're ready to close the door on something that you've been doing for a really long time to make room for something new to come into the mix. You don't always know exactly what it's going to look like, but will you answer the call? And in this particular depiction, we have a guy, the same guy. We're seeing sort of the back-to-back between the two choices. We've got the gray, sort of the black and white. He's got the Inherited Beliefs book, and he's all in gray, which means he's not necessarily living his life in color. He's living his life based on what somebody else has told him to live. And then we've got this guy. Hair's a little bit longer, stands a little bit taller. He's wearing this beautiful kind of teal green jacket, and he's holding a Metatron's Cube or a Flower of Life book. He's holding the metaphysical. So the call to action here is, do I stay in the 3D? Do I stay in what is expected of me? Do I stay in what feels comfortable or what feels normal? Or do I open up and walk my own path? And I'm really feeling here, when we talk about what's emerging, by the end of this month, each of you is going to have kind of a moment of like a choice point. I was going to say a day of reckoning, but that sounds kind of dramatic. It's not that dramatic. It's more of like a choice point where it's going to be very clear and evident to you, this is the moment. I either choose path A or I choose path B. This isn't a both and. This is an either or. But it is an either or that stems from what I no longer am connecting to. And it opens me into the mystery of what I'm ready to explore, the new, the inspired. Do you want to live in the gray? And no judgment if you choose that. That just means you've got, you want to do one more kick at the can before you can find your color, before you can find your inspiration, right? Or are you ready to say, yeah, let's do this. I take the leap. I've got my source energy with me. I've got my spiritual tools in my toolkit to be able to move forward and do this. I'm ready. Let's do it. Interesting. Wow. I love a good judgment card. Okay. This is you in this process, your role in the shift. How are you navigating this transformation? Are you resisting, flowing, grieving, or boldly rising? You're kind of having a hard time deciding what you want to do. This is the give and take. This is the give and receive. It's the reciprocity, the generosity card. And what I keep seeing when I'm looking at this card is almost that wishy-washy. I feel like for a lot of you, and again, take what works for you, leave the rest behind. It's a general reading. There's perfectionism that is really at play here. And I feel like the perfectionism is the thing that is causing you to feel nervous about just choosing the path that you want to choose. And I'm going to say, you've already given enough, Libra. You've already given enough. Now it's time for you to receive, right? Now it's time for you to take. It's time for you to be able to use some of the coins and your own generosity on yourself. I just keep hearing over and over and over again, this is a month for you to give yourself space to expand in bigger ways. Not necessarily to go big or go home unless that resonates with you, but to give yourself the space to think bigger than what you've been thinking in the past. You know, some of this boredom comes from being used to the way that you're in service. And yeah, it's helping others, but is it really fulfilling to you? And then you can talk yourself out of it and say, well, fulfillment is not the point. Well, in March, fulfillment for you, your personal fulfillment absolutely is the point. And so I feel like that's why the Six of Pentacles is coming through. It's to say, don't resist. Don't resist. Don't use perfection to lead you on this path. Don't use perfection to answer the call. Use your heart to answer the call, but give yourself the space to connect with your heart so that you can really hear what your heart is trying to say. You know, this teal green jacket, also green is heart energy. It's part of the heart chakra, healing, healer, healed. And so I feel like that's important as well. It's a heart awakening, Libra. And yeah, you've been in a bit of a heart awakening, path before. And sometimes heart awakenings are not the most fun, journeys to take, because it does mean that we are running into situations where our heart, is in the line of fire. Our heart gets hurt. But at the same time, I want to say the heart does open wider. You do have a stronger sense of yourself. You have a stronger sense of compassion for yourself and others when this occurs, and you know yourself better. You know yourself more strongly. So I feel like release perfectionism. It doesn't have to look right or perfect or good. It's more about lean into what your heart is saying. I always want to say follow the green. Don't go with a feeling as much as following the signs, following the green, because the green is your heart. Interesting. Circles of support. Who or what is influencing your transformation right now? And is it positive or negative? Interesting. Yeah. So I feel like for most of you, this tower has already occurred. And I feel like it's a positive influence because it has caused you to see your world very differently. You had to turn the world upside down, or the world was turned upside down for you, but you were able to orient yourself. You were able to figure out what you needed to see and find. You were able to make it work. You were adaptable. So don't be afraid of hiccups. Again, perfectionism, right? It doesn't need to be perfect in order for you to be able to work with it, to be able to create space for it. In fact, anything that isn't going your way, that's also an indicator that you want to sit into that a little bit more. Not because you're trying to fix it, but because you're trying to figure out, okay, what are you trying to tell me? By you doing something the opposite, maybe I'm tunnel visioned the way I think this is supposed to go, but you're showing me that you want to become something else. You want to become something different. And again, I come back to you reinventing yourself, right? How do you want your soul to shine out in the world? Well, the tower is going to be huge inspiration. It's going to be a huge shift in your perspective. What do you want that to look like? Are you going to take advantage of that? Or are you going to, just kind of let it pass you by? Again, we all have choice. There's a lot of support for you. A lot of support. Also pay attention to people in your life that are acting as mirrors for you. maybe reflecting back to you things that you're feeling a bit uncomfortable looking at, or maybe that you're like, oh, thank you for sharing that, because I needed to be reminded that that is, who I am or who I want to be, or that I do have that capacity. Pay attention to those earth angels, because I feel like they're also helping you to see the perspective that is getting you to where it is that you want to go. Again, all about the reinvention of self. Hopes and fears about changing. Who are you dreaming of becoming, and what scares you about actually doing it? Yeah, Libra, you're afraid to feel, because every time you feel it big. You feel it huge. And it feels sometimes like it's a tidal wave that just kind of overtakes you. I understand this. There's been a lot of this for you lately. A lot of like over emotional. And I'm not saying you're being dramatic or you're being overly emotional. I'm saying there's just been a lot of emotion, and you've felt overly emotional. Like you give $1 worth of crying or tears or emotion for a dime's worth of whatever it happens to be. And so I feel that this is where the fear is that if I start crying, I'm never going to stop. And so I'd rather just not start crying at all. But by stopping yourself from crying, you're also stopping yourself from creating space for that heart to move through, for you to follow the heart path. Queen of Cups is here as an ally for sure. And I feel like the more you lean into your feelings and emotions, the more clarity you're going to receive. The simpler the path will become. And sometimes that simple is because you recognize I'm giving too much or investing too much into other people right now, that I need to separate the wheat from the chaff, or I need to just take a step back now on certain things, so that again, I am creating space for something new or someone new to come into the mix. That's what this is all about. And I'm going to say the new person is you. It's the you reinvented. And all of the people that show up in your world are here because they're trying to help you to figure out how you want to reinvent yourself. They're not trying to tell you how to do it. They're just providing you with opportunities. They're providing you with resources that you can then play with. But you have to be willing to play with your emotions, or play within the ocean of your emotions, in order to be able to figure out what resources are going to work and what aren't. So don't be afraid to throw a little spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. You are very compassionate. You are a heart-based person, and this is a heart-based journey. So lean into this. See it only as a hope. Don't see it as a fear. Or if you need to acknowledge it as a fear, acknowledge the fear and do it anyway. I think that's the second time I've said that to you in this reading. So acknowledge the fear and do it anyway. Okay, outcome of this transformation. If you stay on course in March, who will you be on the other side of this journey? What is the result of embracing the full death and rebirth cycle? Connection, connectivity, true understanding. You understand you, and you understand the other person without having to say a word, and they understand themselves and they understand you without having to say a word. This is pairing, partnership, union. This honestly is where you work best, but you have to face the Queen of Cups in order to be able to have the Two of Cups, right? And I know that seems backwards, right? Because you're like, well, the Two of Cups comes first, Stacey. Of course, that's kind of backwards. I don't understand what you mean. Of course this has to come first. Not in this case. In this case, you have to knock down those barriers, those walls that are, telling you that they're keeping you protected. But really what they're doing is they're sheltering you from the connection that you really are wanting to create and build. And because you're reinventing yourself, you get to have some say in what that connection is going to look like. So if you meet this, character and you decide not for me, you have the ability to say, not, not today, maybe tomorrow, move along. But if you don't open your heart to see what that person is all about, you're not going to know. You're just going to keep sending everybody away. And then you're not really going to be able to get to know yourself, because you're moving into a window of time where it's all about community. And that means, community of 2 or community of 10 or community of, 10,000. It's all about community. This is about you kind of coming out of a hermit zone or a hermit phase and moving much more into, I'm ready for that level of connection. And it's going to match. It's going to match my frequency. It's going to match who I am and what I do. You have the power to make that happen. Wow. Okay, Libra. So that is your transformational tarot for the month of March. If you need some help with this or you need some guidance, please click on the link below to book a session with me. It's what I do. I would love to help. I'd love to be of service. Otherwise, like, subscribe, click the bell on my YouTube, check out that join channel. Please share this video with anyone that you feel could benefit from this type of guidance. Especially if you have a partner or a friend who isn't a Libra, but you're like, listen, I just want you to know me. I want you to get me without me having to explain it. This is what I got coming up this month. Help me out. Please share the video. My goal is to, kind of be as wide and visible as I possibly can be to people who feel that they can benefit from working with me. And I cannot do it without you guys. So I'm very grateful. Until I see you for another episode of Black Feather Couture, Divining a VIP Life, sending you lots of love, lots of support. We'll see you on the flip side and transform well.